Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, we're talking about pro-women, pro-life. Joining us on set to tell us all about it is Rebecca Ali Govaya. She's the founder and executive director of Elpis Center. Also, we have an author and former client and volunteer, and she's the author of a book called Restoration, Being Made Whole After the Reality of Abortion. And her name is Karen Elias. Ladies, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
So I'd like to start with you, Ms. Govaya.
Sure.
What is the Elpis Center?
Okay, so Elpis is Greek for hope, and it's a hope that's not well, you know, I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. It's more of an expectant hope where you can be sure that the help that you would receive would result in a good outcome. And we started around 2007, 2008, but officially incorporated in 2009. And over the years, we've developed 4 major limbs to our services. So we provide counseling for women, and this is women who may be facing an unplanned pregnancy or a crisis pregnancy, or single moms or moms in general who may be in a situation where themselves or their children could potentially be at risk based on what is going on. So it could be abuse, it could be a traumatic event, it could be displacement, it could be some economic fallout or social fallout. So we provide counseling for them, both professional and peer counseling, and we provide material support, whether that be clothing, food, medical support, ultrasounds, pregnancy testing, the works, essentially whatever she needs to support life and to ensure that these children are carried to term and are raised in as healthy an environment as possible. Then we also run a teen program called Healthy Respect. You know the saying, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Right.
So we teach our teens risk-avoidant behavior, so sexual responsibility, how to avoid risky behavior, both staying away from alcohol, tobacco, drugs, how to deal with peer pressure, bullying, and sexual responsibility. And then the first program that we ever launched actually was Healing. It's a healing program from pregnancy loss, mainly women who've had incidents of abortion. And recently, meaning as of end of last year into this year, we've included miscarriages and stillbirth.
Great.
The latest program we launched, which is what our fundraiser is for this week, is our transitional housing program. So it's a physical facility that can accommodate 4 women who are pregnant and displaced, or a mom with young children, meaning under the age of 3. So there has to be a displacement. Either she's homeless or about to be made homeless because of circumstances, economic, social abuse, etc. And the program is designed for her to come in. And for instance, for a pregnant woman, she would be allowed to stay for the duration of her pregnancy and up to a year after. The purpose is to transition her into independent, self-sustaining, healthy lifestyle for herself and her child.
Great. You cover a wide range of topics. We need organizations like these.
Yes.
Where are you located?
Physically located, we are in Central, in Freeport, but we meet clients everywhere, you know, so, and we do our healing retreats, different locations. So our programs could be delivered at different locations, but our housing program is in Freeport.
Okay. Is it a Christian-based organization?
It is,
Yeah, it
yeah.
sounds that way. Great. Now, I'd like to welcome into the conversation Miss Elias. She's the author of this book, and I just had the chance to go through it very quickly. Now, from what I gathered here, you grew up in the church literally,
Right.
and something happened. And as a result of this, you went through an experience. You got pregnant out of wedlock. You went through an experience. You went through a healing process. And now you're fulfilling purpose, in a sense, by sharing your story, touching other lives and letting them know it's okay to fall once you get right back up.
Right.
Correct? In a nutshell.
Yes, in a nutshell.
Okay. So let's begin with your experience. You grew up in the church. Then what happened?
Yeah. I guess the curiosity got the better of me. Or you always hear what you shouldn't do, but not necessarily why you shouldn't do it. So I went into that route of having sex, and then in an attempt to hide, I chose the route of abortion.
Right.
But I'm well educated, I would say. So you'd always go to these debates about abortion and that kind of thing. So I was always pro-life. But when you get actually into the
Yes.
circumstance and the situation, there are a lot of things that people don't tell you.
Yes.
So I went that route not knowing what all of the ramifications were, what all of the consequences were, how you feel internally, how you feel mentally, how you feel physically. So it's a very hard fall. Abortion is a very hard fall, and they don't tell you that. The political discussion does not tell you how you actually feel when you go through an abortion. So that's what this book is about, is to bring the human side back to the discussion of abortion, to tell women this is how you feel, but this is how you can come out of it. There's a process that you can go through. There's a process of healing. There's a process of pulling yourself back together again, mentally, physically, spiritually, socially as well, because there are some social aspects that are not discussed. You can bring yourself back together again, and you can do what you have to do, and you can live a fulfilling life.
What were some of the experiences psychologically? This had a lot of impact on you.
Yes.
While you were, well, when you found out that you were pregnant, what went through your mind?
Fear, first of all, and the emotion of let's deal with this quickly. Let's get rid of this as fast as possible, because you want to hide. And abortion is essentially a quick solution to a problem, or quote unquote problem, what you think or feel is a problem at that point in time. So you want to make a quick decision, and you think that abortion is the route. So in your mind, you're thinking, how can I deal with this as soon as possible? And when you don't open yourself to counseling, you don't open yourself to someone giving you options or choices, or when you feel you don't have a choice, then you go the route of abortion.
So what sort of, based on your experience, what sort of support would a woman who's unmarried or unprepared to have a child, what sort of support does she need?
First of all, she needs to know that someone is going to be there to help her. She wants to know that someone is going to be literally there to hold her hand, because you're scared. Different issues are going through your mind. How am I going to raise this child? How am I going to pay for this child? How am I going to pay for the medication that I need? How am I going to pay for clothes? How am I going to go to work? What is my boss going to say? What is my family going to say? What are my friends going to say? All of these questions are going through their mind. So they want support to know that I'm here with you. I'm going to hold your hand. I'm going to help you. Some students, they're thinking, how am I going to get through my exams? How am I going to study? They would also need some sort of peer support, a friend to hold their hand and say, I'm going to be here with you. I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to talk through this. Sometimes you need professional counseling, and it's an acceptance of, okay, who can I call? That's why the Elpis Center's work is so great. There's someone that you can call if you feel that if you're not in the headspace to raise a child. There's counseling services, professional counseling services. So you can call and sit with somebody who can professionally help you and kind of guide you through the process of, okay, this is what is going to happen now. This is what you can do. These are your options, that sort of thing.
Now, the age would also play an important role in the entire approach to the situation. Were you significantly young or in school when this happened?
I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I was still in UE at the point in time. So there was a lot going on. There was a lot
your
of
future, you're thinking
bombardment.
about your education, which route do you take?
Yeah, and unfortunately, when you are in that environment of UE, the route is more along the line of abortion. It's more along the line of, oh no, you don't need this in your life right now. So let us terminate this and go ahead with your education.
Okay. Now, in a case like this, Ms. Govaya, how would you approach this situation? What do you tell a young child? I'm saying child. Right, as somebody at that age, especially they're at the verge of completing studies, their future, they're in the church. So I want to talk a little bit about the support that you got or lack of support. So we talk about that after. What do you tell somebody?
Well, you know, considering, I laugh when you say child, because considering the brain is not fully developed until 25 to 30. You're kind of right still, you know. And that's one of the things, right? Because that judgment part of the brain that can weigh actions and consequences really isn't all there until 25 to 30. And what neuroscientists are now saying after, let's say, maybe the last 10 years of intense research on the human brain, they are actually saying we need trusted adults, including parents, teachers, leaders, to be the prefrontal cortex as our young people develop. Don't just abandon them when they write SCA and think they're big now. Don't just pull your hands away when they're in UE because you think they're adults now. But having said that, so if someone calls us and she's in that situation, we would schedule an intake interview.
Okay.
And depending on the issues that are raised, we begin, I guess, a troubleshooting exercise, for want of a better word, because there is a saying that we use that, you know, where there is a crisis pregnancy, let's eliminate the crisis, not the child.
Right.
So we help her to sort of see and put into perspective, what are my issues? What are my problems? 80% of the women who abort say that if they had gotten support from just one person, they would not have had the abortion. 43% of women who, there was a survey done in the States in abortion clinics themselves and what the women and men were feeling. And 43% of them, even while sitting in the clinic, having already made the decision to go through with that abortion, are still hoping that someone will come and tell them make a different choice or help them make a different choice. And there have been a couple surveys done even on coercion and the role of coercion in abortions. And between 53 to 64% of abortions are coerced. So when she comes to us, is for us to get to the bottom of what are the real issues.
Yes.
You know, what are the real things facing you? If it's, let's say, completion of your education, well, let's figure out how can we accomplish both.
Right.
Because this is the thing we're saying, right? We, as women and the men who support women out there and families, our ladies should not be made to feel that the right they have as a woman to be educated or have a career or be developed in any other way conflicts
Yes.
with their right to be
That's
a
true.
mother,
Well
or
said.
conflicts with the right of the child to be born
Right.
and to touch the sand and eat ice cream and give you a hug and have a fulfilling life.
Fulfilling, actually.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would just add to your life rather.
Yeah. It's just it's something about that 9 months that sends people into a crazy tailspin. And we're just there to help calm the, you know, that tailspin and anchor them and help
Right.
them to understand that all these crazy feelings, let's put it into perspective. And, you know, I've never had, over the 9 years of doing this work, I've never had a mom who went on to give birth come back and tell me she regretted it.
That's
yeah.
true.
But I've had the moms who've had the abortions, and every single one of them who've come to us for healing have said, I thought this was a good decision initially,
Yeah.
but I regretted it. I've not had one woman come to us and say, I did not regret
That's right.
that abortion.
And
That's
some who did, they go on and they write books, they inspire
Correct.
others, and they help others. It's a learning process
it
and
is.
fulfilling purpose. And that, now, I'd like to talk a little bit about, now I know you said you're a Christian, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the support or lack of support you got. Now, I'm not talking about all churches. Of course, different churches would approach it differently. Were you shunned by the church when they found out, or did they find out? What was the church's reaction to your pregnancy?
Well, they would not. I would not have given them time to find out
Wow.
about my pregnancy. You see, yes, I grew up in the church, so I know how it goes. I know how an unwed mother who's pregnant can feel in the church, and I didn't want to go that route. I had experienced it before with a few of my family members, and I didn't want to go that route. So I didn't give them time to find out. Now, when they found out about the book, a lot of them actually embraced me and congratulated me about the stamina. I guess that's a good way to
Courage.
stand up, and the courage, to stand up and to speak out about an issue that would have been hidden for some time, that would have condemned them. You know, I don't want to say that I know that people in church have had abortions, but there's a possibility, yes, and they may feel as though they can't talk to people about it, because when you discuss abortion in church, it doesn't always come from a place of love. And this is the rhetoric that we're trying to change. We want to come from a place of love now. We understand that this has happened to you, and we want you to be healed. We don't want you to live in guilt anymore. We don't want you to live in shame anymore. We want you to know that there's a place that you can go to. There's a place that you can find healing and you can find restoration and you can have that fulfilling
Yeah.
life.
Big question for you, Ms. Govaya. How should the church respond to something like this?
Grace,
Yeah.
lots of grace and mercy.
Yeah.
Both to the mom who becomes pregnant and isn't sure what to do, and the mom who's had an abortion, and the post-abortive man. Because for every woman that has had an abortion, there is a man in there somewhere.
We tend to forget that.
Yes. And you know, for every woman that becomes pregnant, there is a man there. And for every woman that goes to term, there should be a man there. And so we need to open up some of these conversations. But in terms of, if there's one word I could pitch to the church, it's grace. Grace is unmerited favor. In other words, we're not doing anything to earn anything, right? It's just about the fact that I'm a human being and I'm in pain and I need to be healed. And I've seen God's profound love for his women and how much he wants them to be fully restored and fully functional in every area of their life, including motherhood, including as a wife or as a career person or as a student or whatever it is. It is his desire for us to be fully whole and fully functional. And there is something about an abortion experience, especially in women of faith, that does impact. You know, the persons who have done research on this have said there are certain women who may be more at risk for what we call post-abortion stress or post-abortion trauma than others. And just to give you an example, it'd be, for instance, women who have a spiritual background or women who have a family history of mental health issues, for instance. So if you have some of these things in your background, you could be at greater risk for post-abortion stress. And what is post-abortion stress is that inability to cope with the feelings following the abortion. So you might get this initial burst of relief. Oh, phew, I'm no longer a pregnant student. I'm no longer going to possibly lose my job. My parents aren't going to put me out the house. It's not one more mouth to feed. And so there's initial burst of relief. But after the relief, for some women, and if you're out there and you are agreeing with what I'm saying, you know, feel free to contact us. But after the relief subsides, after that wash of relief, they've found about 150 other emotions and experiences can surface.
Wow.
Things like suicidal ideation, re-experiencing the event, not being able to be in the presence of other pregnant women or even children. You can't see babies, baby clothing, you can't go to baby showers.
And this is ongoing for like a period of years and
Well, I mean, it can go and come depending, and for instance, around the anniversary of the birth of the baby, you may re-experience. There's some moms who told us they actually have to take days off from work around that because the grief is so overwhelming. Because you know that at that date you would have had a baby. And so the grief becomes overwhelming, and some of them have to take days off.
yeah. I wish we had more time to continue this conversation.
Yeah, well, we
though.
can come back.
Yeah, I would love to. We'd really love to have you back because I'd like to go into detail about your experience and whether you had that post-abortion stress, trauma, and does it still impact you, etc. Now, you have a fundraising event.
Yes.
What information do you have?
All right, so it's really a small fundraiser, but it's a barbecue that we're having on Saturday, the 14th of April. It's going to be out of our center, and we're raising funds specifically for the shelter, the transitional housing, which we started a month ago, just to cover the cost of, staffing and
sure. And
yeah.
Wow. Is there a number to call? How do we reach you?
383
383
2674.
2674.
383-2674. We're also on Facebook, the Elpis Center. We're on Facebook, so you
Elpis Center, ELPIS. You can look for it on Facebook, correct?
And just like our page and message me.
Yeah.
Or WhatsApp me on 383-2674.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure
It's been a
having
pleasure
you
being
both.
here.
And congratulations on your book. Keep
Thank
up
you.
the great
Get a
work, both
copy.
of
Thank you
you.
very much.
Certainly.